Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of Chicks and Sticks, brought to you by the Hockey Writers. My name is Melissa Boyd, and I'm once again joined by my partners in crime, Kristy Flannery Hannah Garfield, and Mariah Holland. How are you doing tonight, ladies?
Very excited.
Yes.
So excited.
So excited. You'll find out why in 2 seconds. Let me just get through this preamble here. If you're enjoying our show, make sure to drop us a like, a follow, or a comment from wherever you're watching it or listening, and send in your questions, and we'll be sure to answer them in a future episode. We're planning a Q&A with our fans soon, so be sure to check that out and get your questions ready. But for now, this week, we're very excited to welcome Amy Jones to the show. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Hello. So for those of you who don't know, Amy is a proud hockey mom to Caleb and Seth Jones, who you might know a little better, and they'll be playing together this season with the Chicago Blackhawks. So thank you so much, Amy, for joining the show this week.
Oh my gosh, I've been looking forward to it since you guys brought it up. I'm so excited.
Fantastic. Well, we'll let Hannah kick things off.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with the obvious question. For the last several weeks, we've been kind of talking about the off season here on Chicks and Sticks, and it's been a pretty exciting off season for the Jones family. So just how excited, how has the off season been in your household?
Oh my gosh, the past month has been insane. But I don't know, it was the beginning. It's been a really weird off season for us. The kids, well, the guys, they come home after the season, and usually they take, a few weeks off, and we do a family vacation. And this one was just a little bit different. I think everyone was a little on edge, not sure what was going to happen. We knew we had, that Caleb had, asked to be put in a trade if he could. Mm-hmm. That just wasn't working very well. And as much as he loved being there.
Yeah.
We knew kind of Seth's situation. So the last month of the season, that was really stressful on him, knowing he was going to have, a discussion he's never had before as a young man. And so I think it's been a little bit more stressful, actually, not quite as loose and just fun as normal. But then the past month, as everything kind of started falling into place, and totally unexpected, because we didn't realize that all that would happen. And I mean, even 24 hours before Seth, the whole Chicago thing happened with him, it wasn't even, we weren't quite sure that was going to happen. There was some other teams involved. And so now it's just been whew, we took a vacation, and I've got all my, my teams, my Blackhawks stuff, and all kind of t-shirts and sweatshirts, and I'm still shopping. And so I don't know how long it'll last, but right now, it is just, we're just so ready for the season to get started.
And you have been racking up those frequent flyer miles between Columbus, Edmonton, and you have your oldest son in Nashville, correct?
Yes.
How good is it going to be to just do one location and you see two of your sons? How great is that after all this time?
Okay, so just so you know, I'm a cusser, so you may be bleeping me out. I'm doing my best to not curse while I'm on here. It's freaking good. I told him, I was oh my gosh, it's only one game a night. So my whole week is usually done. I can't do anything around this time because Seth's game started at 6 and ended at 8:30, and Caleb's started at 8. I've got the whole, and my mom does too. So the grandparents are all involved. No one can do anything. We have no life whatsoever. Now I'm oh my God. So they didn't realize it. I think probably if they get through this year, they're going to be, Seth's going to be look, I'm here 8 more years. You're going to have to do something different, because now she's here all the time. Where normally I'm splitting my time. So I'm going there, and then I'll go there, and then 6 weeks, so it's every other month someone sees me, and now I'm going to be there all the time. And I have a feeling it could be a deal breaker. One of them may have to leave, but
one of them's an ask for a trade.
We can't take it anymore. She's here way too much.
Split this up here.
Mm-hmm.
So the boys are going to be playing for an original 6 team, a team that has a great history. Also recently, they're coming sort of off a dynasty team. They won 3 Stanley Cups with Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane and that whole team. So how special is it going to be to see your boys suit up for a storied franchise like the Blackhawks?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you know already how cool that is. I mean, it's the Chicago Blackhawks. It's a great city.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great franchise. We've always known them to be one of the top probably 4 franchises as far as just how they take care of their players and just along all those lines that we've heard about forever is just what a great franchise they are to play for. And so, I don't know. I've always wanted, Seth and Caleb was obviously in Edmonton, which is a hockey town. And oh my gosh, like crazy hockey city. And Seth has been in Nashville, which if anyone's been to a Nashville game, it's a top 5. Yes. It is a top 5 game you like have to go to, even if you're not a hockey fan.
Yep.
And then Columbus, which was, he loved Columbus, but Chicago it's like a hockey town, it's just gonna be really special because I've always wanted for Seth to be able to play in a hockey market and to know what that feels like.
Yeah.
So he's much more reserved and actually enjoys walking down the street, no one really knowing who he is or saying anything. But this is going to be really neat. And they're both super excited. Like I haven't really seen them this just kind of anxious and just ready to go. I mean, they're training harder and they train hard anyways, but I just see like the extras, like there's just something different about this to them, which means it's, even for me, just to see that as a parent, you feed off those vibes. So super exciting.
So at what point did you realize they were going to play together and what were their emotions like? I mean, we can obviously think about it, but you had front row perspective from it. So
I swear I didn't know until 24 hours, not even 24 hours before. When Caleb went, we were, so many people said they did that because of Seth. It really wasn't anything having to do with Seth. We were just so happy for Caleb when that happened, just for a new start and a new opportunity with the team where he could actually have a chance. So that was great. But it was like, I knew that Chicago was on the list. And when you talk about teams and they're trading someone who has 1 year left on, it's better for the team who's doing the trading to, if you would agree to sign an extension with another team, then they can ask for more. So we kind of like gave them a list of we gave
CEO.
like I'm on the phone. Let me see. No, of about 4 teams that he would consider long-term, and Chicago was one of those teams. And so then it was kind of going to work to see if they could make anything work with any of those teams. And there was a couple of them that they kind of came to an agreement with, if they could have could work out a trade with. And then it comes down to, can you, the player, make a deal with that team that's satisfactory for that, the 8 years. And it was down to 2 teams like 24 hours before. And then the next day it just all came together and we were going to dinner, and I'm not going to lie, the guys were like, we're going to get drunk tonight. But
sometimes you have to.
Yeah, before Seth actually, even like really happened, they were just like, we're going to dinner. They went and bought some beer for the house, and they're like teamwork already. Caleb's unpacking it, handing it to Seth. He's putting it in the beer drawer. Like, they're already figuring it out. And then we go to dinner, and then right when we get to dinner, it's like, it's a done deal. And Chicago's like, okay, the plane's going to be there in the morning at 9. So then it was just like, everybody was like, okay, no one's getting drunk tonight. We're just going to eat dinner and then we're going to go. I'm like, I got to get home. I got to pack. I'm going. And they're like, well, it's really for me and Caleb. And I'm like, it's a plane. It can hold me too. I'm going. Like, this is my one chance here.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it all happened in an instant. And then it just, and y'all don't even know what the question was you asked me. I just started like tell you how it happened. But it was
a great answer. It was a great answer.
Freaking awesome.
It works.
No. No longer can get drunk when you have a 9 a.m. flight.
Yeah, no one got drunk. And I mean, for me, that's like 1.5 drinks, but I didn't even get to accomplish do that. Anyway, so
All right.
tonight.
So let's go back a couple years. So at what, there's so many parents who, watch their kids playing sports and watch them growing up in athletics. At what age did you kind of realize that Seth and Caleb had the ability and skill to play in the NHL?
Oh my gosh. With Seth, it was very early on. I think from the time he started playing, I know this sounds crazy, but even when he was like 6 or 7, coaches were just like, wow, there's something about this kid, or there's something special about him. And when he was 10, he had said, I said something about high school, and I'll never forget this. He was 10 or 11, and he just said, Mom, I'm going to be in Ann Arbor in high school. And I'm like, you don't know that you're going to be in, and he's like, I will be in Ann Arbor for high school. And of course he was. And then just for him, I don't know, it was just, he went to the US program. And I just feel like you don't know, but you just know. I mean, he wrote me a little note on Post-its. I still have it in my nightstand drawer. It was like 4 of those little bitty Post-its when he was about 8 that said, Mom, I love you. I'll never leave you. Half these words were spelled, even when I go to college in the NHL. And I don't know. I just feel like he always knew, and we always knew there was potential, because when you have a father who's been a professional athlete, those things you don't see those things as impossible.
Yeah.
So you already know that those things are possible. So it's just a matter of commitment and how hard you're going to work, and of course the talent that has to be there.
Yeah.
And with Caleb always had it, except when Caleb hit puberty, he got lazy. And so it was so irritating. It's just like, this kid is not going anywhere. I mean, I tell him all the time, you are so lazy. So then if I was punishing him, I'd be like, okay, your punishment is 20 push-ups. He just was like a little bit, Seth's always been really mature for his age.
Mm-hmm.
And Caleb was never immature, but he was like a kid.
Yeah.
Seth was never like a kid, and Caleb was a kid. But then I think Caleb saw everything happening with it just a couple years. And then he just started really putting in the work. And again, when you have a parent that's in that life anyways, you really do not see that as impossible. You just have to, how hard are you willing to work to make it happen? And, it doesn't matter if you have a parent. Obviously it was in a different sport, but, and then you see those things happening with your brother. So, that anything's possible in that situation. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Seth was almost all the way. And then Caleb was more like, when he went to Ann Arbor, we realized, okay, he's gonna, you could just see him starting to develop. He was a late bloomer.
Mm-hmm. But he's here now.
Yes, he is.
What I take away from this is that Caleb should thank you for making him do push-ups as a kid.
When Caleb gets his NHL award, you're the first person he should be thanking.
You're the reason he's there.
There's a lot. I would probably say Seth, but yeah, I'm going to take credit anytime that I can, just because I'm.
So what would you say is the hardest part of being a hockey mom?
Twitter.
Yeah.
Just the things what's crazy about this is that we are diehard sports fans. So we are the people who are watching on TV, just call it like Sunday football, going, what in the hell is he doing? Like, did he party last night? Like, he needs to go have a seat, and, or where's this, we are those people. But then when you see things about your kids, like, those things don't bother you. It's things that are more personal that bother you. And people just, there's no filter. Like, they will hit you everywhere. up and down, like it can be your family, your race, your whatever it is, they really, when you're behind a screen and there's no one there to hold you accountable, or your parents don't even know what you're saying or whatever it is, it's say some really mean things. It's hard not to, especially with my personality, it's very hard not to engage in that. So I would say that's the toughest thing. Because when your kids have a bad game, so they're like, man, he had a bad year, or he had a bad game, or whatever. That's just is what it is. That's a fact. It's just those other really personal things that bother you.
Sure. Well, kind of on that same idea, I guess, do you find yourself, especially now that they're in the public eye, they're in the NHL, the best league in the world, do you find yourself being even more overprotective now than when they were kids, maybe? Now it's just more difficult. Like when they were younger, really social media didn't start. Like I was really lucky because it was more when they were in high school, when social media kind of started taking off and stuff. So when they were a little bit younger, I've always been very protective, but I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know. That's a tough one because it's just so different. I've always been super protective. I've never been that parent that was, my kids weren't going to go spend the night at someone's house every weekend. They weren't going to have, like, there's some kids that, and nothing's wrong with it, by the way. I was just so controlling. Like I never wanted to ask for people to give my kids rides. I wanted to drive, to drive them and take them. And so I've always been really protective. This is just a different kind where you just tend to like want to do everything that you tell your kids not to do, which is, reply back or smart off or I don't know, all that type of stuff. So this is much more difficult for me, I think, with the social media. And they're just like, well, don't even read it. You'll see people comment, oh, watch out. Their mom is like scouring them. Yes, I am. yes, that's me. Yes, I am. I want to know what you're abusing my children. I mean, you guys have parents. Your parents still view you as like their babies. Like it just is what it is.
I think my mom's very protective. I'm an only child. So I'm in. And I think it's one of those things where and obviously I'm not a parent yet, but I think it's hard when you're so protective when they're younger. And then it's like, you have to learn to kind of let go as they get older, but you don't want to let go because you still have that protective instinct that you're going to protect them, whether they're 30, 40, 50, like you're always going to be there to have their back. So it's like, it's a weird transition, especially, your kids are both very mature. Like I said, Seth carries himself extremely well. And so does Caleb. So it's a hard transition to kind of let that go a little bit. You can't do it.
Oh, it is. I mean, even this summer, I think every summer is because I'm so involved every summer, even this summer, I'm like, before they have to have a talk with me, I'm like, I'm going to have the talk first. So I'm like, I know we need to talk about boundaries. So let's go ahead and talk about things that you want to have boundaries on, so because it doesn't hurt my feelings as much.
Right.
I bring it up.
Exactly.
Like,
you're in control of the conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's like, when my Blackhawks box came and you opened it, like maybe you can start letting me open that stuff. Live in my house, but like I'm over there not all the time. Like any girl would be out there like, oh my God, I can't handle her. I mean, literally I'm over there like once a week, but I happen to be helping Seth decorate his house. So I'm over there.
There you go. There you go.
But for the most part, stuff like that. Like, it's like, can I open my own mail, please? Okay.
So there is a quote that I really love, and it's that you'll never always be motivated, so you must learn to be disciplined. And especially as an athlete, like you need to have that discipline all the time. You always have to be in tip-top shape. When did you start seeing this discipline really emerge with them? Like, were they young and they've had this routine since high school, or do you see it kind of evolving as they evolve in their career?
mean, honestly, I've seen it from a very young age. So when they were really young, we're talking like 2004, 2005-ish, 2006. One thing that I always did, and we were very fortunate, was to be able to put them in lessons. So skating lessons was like the number one most important thing, in my opinion, because I was like, if they can get the skating down, you know, it's so much easier to stick handle and do all the things you have to do if you're not worried about skating. And so we always had lessons, but then it got to where it was more advanced lessons. And then sometimes it would be 6 o'clock in the morning. And I personally don't want to get up. I'm not a morning person. And so I would just say, I mean, from the get-go, it's like, I'm going to book it, but I'm not getting up. Like, if you want me to go, like if you want to go and you want me to take you, you need to set your alarm. Caleb was actually the one that really did it. It'd be like, you set your alarm, you get up, you get ready, you wake me up, and then we'll go. And if you don't, and we miss this lesson and I have to pay for it, we won't be doing this again. Like, you know, we're 6 a.m. And I swear every time, like, they had me up, they had their alarm, they were ready to go. And which at a really early age is kind of weird. I mean, I would have never done it. Just saying. But so I feel like they had it, they never like didn't want to go do something. And I get a little, you know, kid training sessions, and it just seemed like everything that was there they wanted to do. Now, they were not the kids that came home, like you would hear about kids, and I was always like, well, so-and-so is doing this and he takes 500 shots when he gets home. And but they were never that kid that, like, I mean, we had a sport court in the backyard and they played on it a lot, but for the most part, and Seth is still this way, he will go to practice and give 150% so that he doesn't have to go home and do all the extra stuff. You know, and I think that's pretty much how they were, is they just, when they're doing it and they're in there, they give 150%. They always have, even at an early age. And but I also think we drove that as parents, because we're very competitive. And I mean, I would set it every practice with all three boys, you know, they're all different ages and different groups, but it's like, if I saw one of them goofing off, I would be losing my mind. It'd be like, if you want to waste everyone's time, it's not going to be mine. It's not going to be the coaches, but we can put you in rec hockey. We're not going to play competitive hockey. And that's what you're going to do. If you want to play around, like, I'm okay with it, but it's got to be in a rec league.
Right.
It's okay to do that. And so we just always instilled, like, you know, I mean, I could tell you stories. Like, I don't know if you know, whoever's from Boston, the Greg Carter camps. Has anyone heard of the Greg Carter camps? Man, they used to come to Denver, and they were like 8-hour all-day camps, 5 days a week.
Wow.
And there was a guy, Eric Brown, he ran them. But I would sit, and all my kids could go to this. I would sit at this camp all day long in the stands, literally in the stands watching. The one at my older son, Justin, I'll never forget. He was goofing off, and they did one of the laps, and he came in behind the goalies, and he's actually the family's best skater, Justin, and came in behind the goalies. And I went down, I knocked on the little door. I swear I did this. He's 11. And I'm like, can you call him over here for a minute? And I will never forget this. I grabbed his face mask, like, and I'm smiling, like I'm saying something really nice. And I'm like, I can't even say all the things that I said, but basically it was like, if this ever happens again, I'm going to try to give out your face mask off the ice. It's going to be the most embarrassing thing you've ever done in your life. I mean, it never happened again, but it's like, I'm like, you're like the fastest skater out there, and you came in last behind the goalies? Like, oh, dang, that's just one of my stories.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I like what you're saying though about kind of like setting the boundaries where, you know, you give it your all and you put your full effort into the practice, but then when you come home, you know, you can do other things. And I think that sets you up for like a good life work balance, because hockey is a job for them, and it is, you know, you can't let your job bleed into every aspect of your life.
Well, yeah. And I think you see so many parents though that make it 24/7, like, now go to your 1,000 shots and go do this and go do that. And it makes it not fun, you know, it kind of takes the fun out of it when you're making them do things.
Yeah, for sure.
And then at some point, like we want so much for our kids.
Yeah.
No matter what they're doing, we see your potential and we feel like we know what you're capable of. And when you're not giving it your all, it's so hard to take that as a parent, you know, but then you realize like you can't do it for them. So you can just show them and explain to them and teach them. And it's really up to them whether they do that or not.
Exactly.
To kind of, wrap up our questions, we've talked a lot about Seth and Caleb. What do you like the most about hockey?
Oh gosh. I love the physical aspect of hockey and I love all of that as long as it's not my kid. Let me take that back. Like I like the big hits and the big clean hits. And I love when my kids lay out really clean, big hits. Do I necessarily like it when it's them that takes it?
Yeah, exactly.
Not really. Because you're like, okay, is their shoulder? Like what just happened? Are they going to have concussion? Are they? But I love that part. I just like the speed, especially playoff hockey. Like I'm not going to lie. Like there's some teams you watch and it's so boring or, the pace is really slow, but for the most part, like 90% of it is it's just fast. It's never boring. There's always something different happening with it. It's not like a typical, like a baseball game and it's like 5 minutes between pitches or even football. It's just, I absolutely just love it. For my kids, like even growing up, I love everything about it. I love the time management and, you're never in life, like even when you work with people, you don't like every single person you work with, or maybe you're not on the same page, or I just feel like this sport has some really down to earth, genuine people in it.
Yes.
From youth all the way up. And there's just so much about life that they have learned from this sport. Again, like even literally just learning how to manage your time and learning how to, what you give, like is to your teammates. Like if you're not 100%, you're not giving 100%, you're not just letting yourself down. There's other people that depend on you for that whole team to be successful. It's not an individual sport. And I mean, the good and the bad, just everything has just been the friends they've made. And I just love this. I don't know. I just love the sport. I really do. From top to bottom, there's just so many good people in the sport. And I love what it's brought to their lives. And it's opened, they've been seeing places around the world that they would have never seen before.
Yeah.
And that I never would have thought to even take them, like to Slovakia or, just different places. It's just brought so much to their life. And the sport's just all over, where the NBA is basically, I mean, there is a little bit in Europe, but mainly the US, not really in Canada. And I don't know, I just really, I respect pretty much everything about the sport.
Yeah, that's very true. We love the game too. So, so our tradition here at Chicks and Sticks is we like to wrap up shows with our guests with a little round of rapid fire. So a little bit of fun we'll try and get to know you a little bit better. So we'll let Hannah start with the first rapid fire question.
What is your go-to coffee order?
I don't drink coffee, so I'm going to say Diet Coke with cherry.
Ooh,
you're the second person that doesn't drink coffee that we've asked that question.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the best NHL arena atmosphere.
Las Vegas. I would have said Nashville, but now I'm saying Las Vegas.
So Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. I won't mention Twitter because we know your feelings about Twitter. So Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok for social media.
My favorite, or just
your favorite? What? Yeah.
Okay, I use Instagram, but TikTok is my favorite.
You can't beat it.
Honestly, I could start watching a video and then it's like 3 hours later.
Yes. It is.
Yeah.
It's so addicting. It's terrible.
And I just start thinking, I want to do this. I'm going to try this. I'm going to make this video. It's like 3 hours later, I still haven't made the video. I love TikTok. Yeah.
And what is your go-to game day accessory when you see the boys on the ice?
Oh my gosh, you stumped me.
There's so many good options.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't even know how to answer that. Okay. My wine glass?
That's perfect. I feel like a hockey mom does need alcohol when they're watching their kid on the ice. I feel like that's kind of a necessity.
I mean, I do have like this little necklace that has a number 3 on it that I always wear on game days. So that would be my like personal jewelry accessory, except the 3 boys.
Very nice.
But definitely a glass of one is my limit. So I nurse it.
So we know it's really early and the season hasn't started, but what would be your early pick for a team to win the Stanley Cup this coming season?
It would be completely like out of line if I said anyone other than the Chicago Blackhawks.
So the real question is, who is Chicago facing? Like, who are they defeating in the Stanley Cup final? Because we know Chicago is going to win.
Let's see. Who's all in the? I'm in the other division. I got to figure out who they're playing. So who? They're playing someone in the East, right?
It would be it'd be in the East.
That's right.
Montreal? Is that a good pick?
There you go.
It is for Melissa.
I like that pick. There you go.
I like Montreal. Like I love Shea
you.
Weber. He was like Seth's mentor coming in.
That's
Josh
right.
Anderson
Yes.
is one of his best friends. We love Josh. Like, I don't know. I like that team. In the East. Is Tampa in the East?
Yes.
Tampa's in the East.
Oh God. I mean, how do you in Tampa? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. They'll knock off the chimps there. So that'll be good. They do that.
Yeah. There we go.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up Rapid Fire and our show for this week. So we just want to say once again, Amy, thank you so much for joining us. We had so much fun with you, and good luck to Caleb and Seth, and to you as well in Chicago. We're wishing you all success, and we know the boys are gonna do great there for sure.
Thank you so much for having me. I could sit here and talk all night.
So could we.
I'm so sorry I ran you guys went overtime there.
No problem. We would talk all night too, but our poor producer Matt has other. We can't keep him for too long.
He's booked.
All right.
He's very booked. So thank you so much. And a special thanks to all of you for watching or listening. And thanks for your continued support week after week. We really appreciate it. And be sure to check out all the great shows that are produced by the Hockey Writers every week on YouTube and your favorite podcast platform. And we're also available on iHeartRadio as well. Don't forget to visit thehockeywriters.com to read all of our content being published daily. Follow us on social media. Subscribe to our daily morning newsletter. And I have to mention to end off the show, if you are looking for something to check out over the next few days, be sure to check out the Women's World Championships going on in Calgary. Some great games so far. And I have to say, being a Canadian, that Canada was beating the US in the final preliminary game. So I just had to get that in there. Go Canada. Make sure you check that out. Make sure you're checking that out. It's really great hockey, some great players. So I'm going to end the show on that note. So thanks everyone, and take care, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Cheers.